Welcome to the MTL Sports Podcast, episode 65. We got a good one for you. A bunch of news broke between Tuesday's episode, and you'll be watching this on Thursday. This episode, we got Nick Saban. Some news about Nick Saban, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, all those head coaches. But first, we got to go over Super Wildcard Weekend. We got a great slate of playoff wildcard games this weekend. We're going to go over each and every single one of them. Saturday, Sunday, and I think there's a Monday night game as well. So a lot to go over with the wildcard weekend. And so with that, we will start. Stay tuned. Wildcard weekend. The 2023-24 season playoffs are here, and they are coming with a bang. Wildcard weekend, I think we have like 7 games, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday night game. We're going to start on Saturday. Let me pull up the Saturday games really quickly. All right, so first game on Saturday, NBC, we got Browns, Texans. Lawrence, who do you got in this one and why?
I got Browns. I just think I don't see how the Texans how the Texans offense can I don't want to just say hang with them. I don't think the Browns can put up amazing amount of points or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more so in the fact that the Browns defense is really good. The Browns defense essentially just had a whole week off in order to game plan, rest up, get prepared. Houston off and on throughout the season has not had its run game show up, and I feel like in a big game like this, it could be another instance in which the run game doesn't show up again. And I do believe if the run game doesn't show up, and especially in a game like this, and you guys become run-dimensional against a good defense like the Browns, I mean, you're just making their job so much more easy, or so much more easier. And quite honestly, there's just a lot of guys on the Browns, they've only been to the playoffs one time really in the last 20 years, and that was with Baker. So now this team is finally back in the playoffs, and a lot of those guys, they got a taste of what the playoffs are like, like the Myles Garretts, the stars on their team like that. And this is just their second chance. So they kind of have been there, done that a little bit. So they know how, much it sucked to be one and done, not even make it past the first round. And I feel very confident that they're not going to want to try to do that one again. And I just think the Texans, I just feel like they're a good team. I just feel like they're like a year too early kind of team. There's always those year too early kind of teams. Like those teams that just popped out way too quick. They're good, but are they as deep and as good as the other teams that have been working for this for a little bit longer? I just don't believe so. I also believe that the edge is also in terms of in favor of the Browns based on their coaching staff being a little bit more, acclimated to postseason play, while the Texans, as a coaching staff, have not been, as in their roles acclimated as much. Maybe as players and as assistant coaches they were, but in the big grand scheme of it, as the one in the main charge, no, they have not.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you got a rookie head coach, you got a rookie quarterback, you got a rookie OC as well, even though he's done a phenomenal job with what, the roster he was given. I think you're definitely right. Browns coaching staff, I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I mean, he's probably going to win Coach of the Year. If not, I mean, one of these two coaches is going to win Coach of the Year. So let's just get that out of the way. I mean, that's a pretty big deal for both of these guys. But I think in this one, I think you're right. I think the experience is going to win the battle. The Houston Texans remind me of the Jags last year, where they were felt like they were like a year too early. And now you see the Jags this year kind of regressed a little bit back to what they probably should be, like a 9-7 borderline playoff team. And also it kind of reminds you like an NBA team, like the Thunder, like, the young guns, they got a nice rookie. or a bunch of young players, and maybe they pop off a little bit, and then they like that borderline case. So with that, I'm gonna go Browns as well. They got Joe Flacco, experienced playoff quarterback. I don't think he has to do too much. Just keep don't turn the ball over. I think it's the biggest thing, because I think if you give CJ and the Texans offense a couple extra possessions, I think they will capitalize. And the Browns, they're going to want to ground and pound because the Texans defense is battered up. So I'm expecting the Browns to win this one. I think the spread is only like 2.5 each way. So, and ESPN predicted has it pretty much a pick me. I mean, it's 50-50. But I think Browns, I don't want to say clear favorite, but I definitely think they should win this game, more or less. Moving on, the Peacock exclusive game, the game that Jamar and T. Higgins will not be subscribing to. I don't know if you've seen that clip. That's been going on Twitter them today on I think it was the Dan Le Batard show, and they were on SportsCenter as well. But they will not be subscribing to watch this game. Don't blame them. We got Dolphins Chiefs. I think it's supposed to be like -2 on Saturday night or something like that. -1.
-1.
That's insane. I wouldn't. Hey, I know this guys they get paid millions of dollars, but I would not want to be them Saturday night. That's honestly, bro, that's too damn cold. Who do you got in this one?
I don't think it's going to be a fun game at all. I think Kansas City is going to win. I do believe it's going to go under 51.5, though. I just feel like it's going to be one of those games in which people are going to have a hard time moving down the field just because it's so cold.
I mean, look at it. It opened at 51.5, and now look at it. It's 44.
Oh, never mind. I was looking at the opening one. Yeah, I mean, there's just no way that anyone's going to want to really play. They're going to play, but then in their deep heart of hearts, they're not going to want to be out there at -1 degrees.
No.
And also, Miami is just a team that can't win in the cold. I think there was a stat line since like 2000 or something. I don't know, 2010, 2000, something like that. One of the two. And they were 1-17 when the weather is below 40. And that's just below 40. So quite honestly, I don't think Miami has a chance. Maybe it's just unfortunate events. The amount of injuries that you got in a single game in order to lead you to this, but hey, the Bills got so many injuries that game too. One of you guys just figure out how to make way with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only one condition is Tyreek, and I mean, he played in Kansas City, so he's used to the cold, but he's kind of hobbled. So you already know they're going to game plan for him anyway. So I
don't know if he's used to the cold anymore. Once you spend a whole,
it's only been 2 years. It's only been 2 years.
Man, he's a Miami boy now. He's never going to go back. It's like once you go warm, you never go back. You never go back to the cold once you're in the warmth.
I guess so, but yeah, I would definitely take the under if you can, because I mean it opened at 51.5 and it's already dropped a touchdown. So I imagine by Saturday night it's probably gonna be high 30s probably. I mean 22.5 is like both teams score 20 at least. I mean I don't see that happening. Chiefs can barely score as it is.
I don't think they're gonna get it much lower than 44.5. I think in max it's gonna get like to maybe 42, 41. There's just too much of a possibility with firepower on both these teams in order to make it where it just can't get but so low. Because there is always that chance of points. Whether or not it's going to happen or not, it doesn't matter. There's always that chance of points. And, they're just going to keep it at what it is probably.
I feel you on that one. Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs in this one. It's going to be a close game. I could see Chiefs winning by like a field goal. I don't think there's gonna be much scoring, and if it is, it's just gonna be here and there. Moving on. Sunday, first game Sunday. CBS Steelers Bills, number 2 seed versus number 7 seed. Who you got in this one? We're playing in Buffalo.
Oh, I mean, I think I talked about it a little bit on the podcast on the last episode.
I think Mike Tom.
I don't think it's gonna be a very good game. Bills are just gonna kill them.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much more to go on this. I mean, like, TJ Watt's not playing, and once I learned that TJ Watt wasn't going to play, I just kind of lost faith in what the Steelers can do. I don't think Mason Rudolph's that amazing of a quarterback. And the fact he's going to have to go against Bills defense. Now, honestly, the Bills defense shut down Tua. Not saying Tua is amazing, but Tua is better than Mason Rudolph. The Bills defense has shut down a numerous amount of good quarterbacks in this 5-game win streak. I just look to continue it. James Cook might do it all himself again. Might be one of those Cowboy games again. Don't know that for sure, but that's just kind of like one of those gut feelings you're feeling on it. But yeah, don't even think Steelers have much of a shot. That's just my gut feeling on it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the Steelers. I mean, you look at the spread +10. You never want to see that if that's your team. Yeah, I don't think it's much of a chance the Steelers can win unless Josh Allen maybe gets hurt. But I don't foresee that happening. They're probably just going to be really conservative and just attack the defensive front for the Steelers. They got a bunch of replacement guys in. They say they have depth at the D-line, but, I mean, when you got Josh Allen and James Cook just beating the hell out of you every play, I don't think there's only but so much you can take, especially if it's going to be cold. Both teams are used to the cold, but, I mean, cold is cold, man. You don't want to be playing in no below freezing temperatures. That shit sucks. So we both
makes every hit feel worse.
100%. So we both got the Bills in this one. The 4:30 game. We got them boys versus the Green Bay Packers. We in Jerry World. Weather won't be a problem here. All right. The 2 versus 7 seed in the NFC. Who do we got in this one?
Well, quite honestly with you, I look at that spread and I look at that total at 50. It started at 48. I like that over because I feel like the only way Green Bay can win this game is if they put up points and try to outrace them, which I don't think they will. I don't think that's going to be a thing. But I mean, the Packers let Carolina's offense that's horrible that scored 0 points in the last 2 games. I think I don't remember what we put up on them, but we put up almost 30 on them. So, the Green Bay Packers, everyone knows that their defense has been horrendous to finish off the season. It has not been good in the slightest. Their offense has been pretty good. Jordan Love had and then it's back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I mean, outside of that, I mean, Green Bay, they had stretches this season where they were really good. They had stretches within the season where they're really bad. I think they're on a stretch now where their offense is really good, but I think their Achilles heel will be their defense. And I just, Cowboys at home, it just feels like, especially against like a team like the Cowboys against Green Bay, there's not much fear. The Cowboys should be fearing. So I'm just going to go Cowboys. But I don't know about that Cowboys spread, but I definitely like that over.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Green Bay, I mean, they have a chance, but I think it's a slim one. I think Cowboys should win this one. They're at home. They're undefeated at home this year, so I don't foresee that happening or changing in any capacity. I definitely will be a shootout, I believe. 50.5 is very reasonable, I think. That's what each team's scoring 25. I think that's very reasonable. I think the Cowboys can easily put up 5 touchdowns on the Green Bay Packers defense. That has not been good as of late, like you said. So both of us have the Cowboys in this one. Move on to the Sunday night game. Rams-Lions. This is an interesting one. Matthew Stafford is making his way back to Detroit. And Jared Goff is going against his old team. So this is, the 2 teams that made that trade a couple years ago. They meet in the playoffs. So a lot of hype, a lot of they're trying to start like fake beef on this game, but I mean they're not really beefing. So who do we got in this one?
Oh, they're not beefing. I think 2 things happen here. I think Matthew Stafford fulfills his promise to the Lions that he would get them a win. Eventually one day in Ford Field. I just think he'll be on the losing aspect of it. Honestly, what I believe will happen here is I don't want to be like that guy that's like, oh, it's scripted. But I just feel like there's a little bit of a, NFL scripture happening here. And we're going to see two 0-16 teams before both win the first round of the playoffs this season. And I think if the Lions win this, I think the biggest reason they're setting it up for them to win, or why I think it might be on their favor to win, is it's going to be the 2-point conversion revenge game. It's going to be the revenge game of that. So it's going to be like the Lions, and honestly, if I'm the Cowboys, you absolutely, and it's truly, you absolutely do not want to see the Lions win this one, because a young, fiery team like that, that pretty much got screwed out of a win against you. Because the people like replayed it so many times, and it is clear as day that the guy literally went and talked to the ref about being eligible. I mean, it is clear as day evidence that he went up to him and said, "I'm eligible," and the ref just didn't listen, or the ref listened and made sure the Cowboys won. So that's good. It's going to be a revenge game. Honestly, just give it to me. Give me the Lions to pull this one out. Stafford to keep up his end of the bargain that he once promised those fans so long ago. And give me the Lions to advance. And honestly, I believe there's a team that can beat the Cowboys besides the 49ers. It is the Lions, because they pretty much were going to win that first game. Just some tomfoolery by the refs made it sure that they couldn't win.
Okay, I see. I think this is where we differ. I called it last episode. I said the Rams are going to win this one. I'm gonna stick with my bold prediction here. I'm just go ahead and take that money line. It's looking pretty nice. I definitely think it's going to be a shootout. I don't think it's going to be much defense played in this one. The Lions got
half is weird.
Yeah, that's a weird score. The Lions got screwed over. But I think in this one, the Rams are just so hot going into this game. I don't think they're going to cool off anytime soon. So I'm gonna take the Rams in this one. I think Stafford's going to have a good game, even though it's away. He's played in Detroit for so many years. It's not really going to affect him too much. We just gotta, I think if you're the Rams, you just gotta hope that AD and what's left of the defense can make some timely stops when you need it in the fourth quarter. The Lions going to have to contain Puka and Cooper Kupp, so I don't see how they do that. And then on the flip side, I don't see how the Rams contain Amon-Ra St. Brown. And do we know if Laporta, is he going to play? Is he hurt?
Oh, I didn't even know if he was out or not.
Let's see. He is questionable. So,
questionable on playoff weekend means you're playing, man. That means you're playing.
Yeah, I guess he's probably going to try and play. We'll see how much he can move around. I think it was his knee, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was his knee. So he'll probably try and suit up. We'll see if he's 90%, 85, 80%. We'll see how.
I think the biggest way that the Lions win this game, and I think that it's going to be one of the. It's got to be, you got to use Jahmyr Gibbs. Honestly, watching the season, I drafted him and everything, but regardless of that, I just feel like they try to use David Montgomery way too much. And
that's my guy.
David Montgomery style of play. I guess it is a little bit like the way the Lions are, but when Jahmyr Gibbs gets in the game, there's just more energy, and it's just disappointing when they do play, and they almost never, they go through stretches of never using them, and it's just like the energy just gets sucked away on drives when they just don't use them. So honestly, like maybe figure it out where you use like a 3-back set or something, or not, a 2-back set or something. Like maybe get both of them in at the same time. You got to do something. Like that's just the end all be all. You got to do something in order to keep them in the game a little longer.
Yeah, I feel that. David Montgomery is my guy. Won me a handful of fantasy games this year, so I got nothing bad to say about him. So yeah, I'm gonna go Rams in this one. Lawrence has the Lions. On to the last game, Monday night. We got the Eagles Buccaneers. I think we're playing in Tampa, but I think it's supposed to be storming Monday night, so we'll see if the game gets pushed back or delayed. Yeah, 70 degrees. So we got some nice weather. Just gonna be some storms and rain or whatever the case might be. Lawrence, who do you have in this one?
I got Tampa Bay. I'm going on the limb, and I'm taking Tampa. I'll lock it in Tampa right now. The Eagles beat Tampa earlier in the season, and this just feels like a revenge moment for that game. And honestly, outside the one blunder down the stretch against the Saints, Tampa's been pretty all right. That's complete opposite for the Eagles, though. I'm pretty sure they're 5-game losing streak now, 4-game losing streak, whatever it may be.
They lost the last 5 out of 6.
They lost to the Cardinals, and they lost to the Giants, and that pretty much, in my opinion, that's all that needs to be said. Losing to those two, it's just kind of like I don't want to say
that's as bad as it gets.
Yeah, I don't know there's much turnaround from that. Like we were talking about, I think it would have been your best interest to sit Jalen Hurts at some point in the season when he was going through all those injuries. At some point in the season, maybe you should have just sat him. Hopefully you pay a backup for a reason to maybe get you a close game like that. When I don't understand this whole thought process of our star quarterbacks have to play, the whole Trevor Lawrence playing with the banged up ankle, Jalen Hurts playing with his banged up knee, who's got this guy out there? And honestly, if your season is going to be teeter-tottering like that towards the end like this, why did you want him in there during the regular season at that point in the season anyways? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Football is really weird because, any other sport, you would shut down your star. If they have any injury that has a hope of healing, even if to go from 70 to 90 or 95, any other sport, you would sit that star. I don't know why the NFL is the only sport where let's keep playing them. Let's make them worse. I don't understand that.
Let's just shoot them a bunch of what do you call it? I don't even know what do they shoot them up with anymore?
Cortisol or whatever that drug is called or something like that.
Just shoot him up and he won't feel anything, and well, that's probably the problem. He doesn't feel anything, and then afterwards he's like, oh, this hurts way more now. Oh, no shit, it's more now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hey, that's another subject for another day, but I think all week, I think for most of the week I was leading Buccaneers, and then I was watching First Take today, and then Jeff Saturday made a good case. He was just like, hey, at some point, pride is just going to kick in. These guys, you lost your last 5 out of 6 games. When are you guys going to wake the hell up? And I don't think they're going to make a deep playoff run. I'm not saying that, but I think they're going to wake up at least for one game, and they'll say, all right, we can beat these MFers, So I think I'm going to Eagles on this one. I know they're banged up. Swift, A.J. Brown, big play Slay. Devontae's hurt. Jalen Hurts, dislocated his finger the other day, or the past game. They're pretty beat up. Buccaneers, they looked horrible the past 2 games, honestly. So I'm just banking on the fact that they're going to be cold, and they're going to be colder than the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to wake up a little bit.
Nah, Tampa Bay looked good against Carolina. They shut them down.
They scored 9 points. No, they did not. It looked horrible. And they got spanked around by the Saints.
No, Carolina's defense is OP, Come on. They're top 4 defense.
That might be true. But they got spanked around by the Saints at home, right? That did not look good.
Yeah, it was a fluke game. It was a fluke game. It was a fluke.
Nah,
Give me Baker Mayfield with them Zin pouches in his pocket during practice.
I think, honestly, the Buccaneers' only chance is if Mike Evans has 200 yards. They just need to just throw it to him. It's probably his last game in Tampa Bay anyway. So if that man has 150 yards, 200 yards, they'll probably win. But Yeah, I'm gonna go Eagles. It's gonna be a close game. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna go against the runner-ups. Not yet. I think they got one more win in them.
One more.
Yeah, they have one more win in them. I think they can muster it up. Summons it, as Unc says. But I think that's it. That's all the wild card games for this week. And then the following week we get the divisional round. Before we wrap it up, any last final thoughts about the first round of the playoffs? We've been waiting 18 weeks for this, and I would say we got a pretty decent slate. I don't think it's as good as last year's slate of playoff games, but I mean, I'll still watch them all. Hopefully, most of them.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm disappointed in any of them. I'm disappointed in some teams making it in, and then seeing a little bit of some of the other teams not make it in. But you don't get to pick. You don't get to pick who makes it and who doesn't make it. The only thing you can ask for is good games. What I guess I would ask for is I hope that the Steelers-Bills game is decent for Steeler fans everywhere. That would be really disappointing to just watch them. I don't want to say be horrible the whole time, but I just want to see a game out of that one. And then for the Packers, honestly, I think the scariest team on this whole list is the Packers. Because one, not many people are probably are believing in you because it is the Cowboys and they're at home. So when you look at that game, honestly, what do the Packers have to lose besides just go out there and just leave it all out there? Well, for other teams, you can say the exact same way, like the Steelers, like one of those you got to leave it all out there. But like, I don't know, it's not the same. Like there's less idea in my brain that the Steelers can go out there and win, then the Packers can go out there and win. Like I feel like the Dolphins and Steelers, they're basically like hopeless romantics at this point. They're trying to find love, but is love going to find them? Are they going to leave the island alone? Are they going to find their soulmate on the island? So many Love Island relationships don't make it. So, to be honest with you, that one's up in the air. There's just not a lot of, in my opinion, belief behind either one of those teams. Really just stirring the pot. I'm really interested in that Packers though, because I feel like the Packers, especially with their time stamp at 4:30. I don't know about you, but like this season, like 4:30 games have had a lot of fluky stuff happen in them.
Yeah, the 4:30 games have been the most entertaining to watch, I would say. I think fluky is probably a good word as well. I think a lot of interesting scenarios and stuff have happened. So I get what you're trying to go there. But yeah, Packers, I mean, nothing to lose. They're probably the most intact, and they probably could catch fire. Watch out for the Rams, too. They caught fire, and if they keep on fire, who knows? They might be back in the Super Bowl. But
the Rams and the Lions and the Texans and the Browns, those are two games, in my opinion, can go either way. Also, I think Buccaneers Eagles is also one of those that can go either way. Just of the three hopeless romantic teams, teams that are more than a 7-point spread away from each other, I think the Packers just have the most chance.
Yeah, I got you on that one. All right, y'all. We're going to wrap this up, and then we're going to move on to rapid fire. We got a lot to cover there, so please some rapid fire. We got a bunch of news to go over, so please stick with us. We'll try to cover everything. First, I think probably the biggest news of the day, Nick Saban, coach of Alabama, won 6 natties with Alabama, 1 with LSU. He's retiring, y'all. This broke about, 4:30, I think. About that time. I was just getting off work, and I saw it pop up. I was like, wait, there's no way this is right. And then Shefty retweeted it, and then all the national guys started retweeting it. And I was like, damn, I guess it's right.
Him and Pete Carroll did it the same
time. Pete was earlier because Pete was like lunchtime. That was like right after the McAfee show. Yeah, because I was watching Pat, and then that broke. So
Didn't watch any of it. I just saw both of them at the same time at work, so I was just like, damn.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Nick? Let's go over Nick first, and then we'll talk about Pete.
I think it's time for him to go. I mean, honestly, what more does he have to prove? He doesn't have anything more to prove. He's 72 years old. He hasn't had time to relax. He hasn't had time for himself. He's just been, gearing for, season after season to get guys ready, get players ready. He's seen a lot of guys come and go. I think they said he had 49 first round picks over his career. 44 of them being at Alabama. I mean, honestly, at this point, it's just like, dude, Nick Saban didn't have anything else to prove. Nick Saban didn't have anything else. He basically doesn't have anything else to, I don't want to say work for in the NCAA, but he's won national championships. In his final season, he made it to the national championship by knocking out the previous year's national champion. Team that was I don't even remember how many games in a row winning. I think it was 20, 21, something like that, in a row games.
Oh, they won back-to-back natties too. Georgia did.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's time. I think it's just one of those things, I think it's better off for him to, leave this season, because even though it's not the highest of highs, I think in a lesser extent, him finishing off, not even making it in the playoffs at all. He's probably been trying to believe that he's going to walk away from it for a while now. I just didn't know when the time was. I think, he finished off the season well. He made it to the playoffs. And also, it's I don't know. I think it's a different age of college football now, especially with the NIL and stuff like that. And now they're going to have 12-man playoffs, and there's no more Pac-12. You also kind of have to believe that, this isn't even the college basketball scene that Nick Saban even fell in love with anymore. I mean, it's just completely unlike what he first started in. And, he probably is getting a little outdated. And, instead of trying to, I don't want to say, try to stay hip for too long, he decided to walk away while, he's still the top guy. He'll probably stay the top guy for a while. Well, not even for a while, guaranteed for a while, because it's going to be a while to anyone ever catches him. But, there was nothing more left to do. College basketball is about to make a big swing, as a change in their whole environment. I think he was ready to go.
Yeah, it's definitely the greatest college football coach that we'll ever see. There's still some time for that. I mean, football's gonna be around for a long, long time, so still plenty of time for that to change. But at least in our generations before, he's definitely the greatest. I thought he would at least stick it out until Milroe decided to either transfer or go pro. I think Milroe's he was developing into a great college quarterback. I'm not saying he was going to go pro or anything. He probably could have gone pro, but I don't think he would have been a top prospect. But at least a guy that you want leading your college football team. I thought Milroe was doing a very good job at that. He won you games with his arm, won you games with his legs. And they really turned the ship after the Texas game. They were playing really, really well. The defense came around too, because the defense was a little suspect in the beginning. So, I mean, all in all, he had a pretty good season by his standards. I would say, yeah, he had a damn good season. And he held Michigan to 27 points, went to overtime. Honestly, that was the best game of the college playoffs. I mean, Washington versus Michigan wasn't really much. I mean, once the fourth quarter came around, it was just a stinker, The Texas game, that was good, but I think the Michigan-Alabama game was the one to watch. So, I mean, losing to the national champions, I don't think it gets much better than that. Oh, I think you're right, though. I mean, I think the scene of college football now with all the NIL and no more Pac-12, so these teams are coming to the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. It's just crazy, man. I think he's just not a fan of all that stuff. And I know he's all about the players and the kids, and he wants the kids to get money, but I think he doesn't want to like kind of deal with all of like this, how much money I got to get this kid to go get him and all that stuff. Like he wants it to be, hey, I'm Nick Saban, you should come play for me. This is what I've done for everybody else. I think that's kind of his mojo.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with all the new things that have been implemented and the things that are coming down the line, they're proposing to just split off from the NCAA, and he probably doesn't like that at all. So, yeah, who do we think was going to replace him though? I think they've said the guy from Oregon is probably the top candidate now. You think? I mean, I could see that. I could see them maybe trying to get Kirby Smart from Georgia, but I think that's a long shot.
You want to be honest with you? I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be as or exciting as we believe it. I think it's gonna be a guy it's gonna be an assistant coach. Saban's gonna put a good word in on one of his assistant coaches to get it.
Think it's gonna be Bill.
He's gonna be. I know this guy knows my team. I don't know if it's gonna be Bill, but he's gonna go out there and he's basically gonna say this guy knows my team. Go ahead and sign him. It is. I mean, I just see someone from Alabama staff moving in to take the role. I don't really see them going out and getting anyone, especially not. I mean, their staff is loaded. They got a loaded staff. They're gonna stay with what they got. I believe it's gonna be someone inside of there, and whether or not that person produces or not we'll leave it up to air next year. I think next year will be when we're talking about who's going to be the next coach of Alabama, whether or not basically this new assistant coach makes it to the playoffs or not. And hopefully he does, because, it's going to be a 12-man playoff, so it's going to look really bad if the next Alabama coach is probably an assistant, doesn't make the top 12 by the end of the season. But, we've seen, University of North Carolina and University of Duke, when both of their amazing head coaches finally left the basketball program. It took like a year or two to get it back, but they went with their assistant coaches because there's pretty much this assistant coach. I mean, Nick Saban is going to leave him the team that he knows he can win with. Like, he's going to leave him a team that he knows he can win with. He's not going to leave him with nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you can even look at Ryan Day, took over for Urban Myers a couple years ago. Now we'll talk about Pete. Pete, I guess it was a report that it was mutual decision to step down. He's going to be like an advisor in the front office.
He's going to help them recruit players from free agency is what he's going to do.
Basically. Who do we see filling this? How do we feel about that first, and who's going to fill in? Who's going to take that job?
I'm not even going to try to speculate who's going to fill that job. Not a clue. Do I think it's an attractive job? Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, Gino's contract is non-guaranteed. He doesn't have a lot of money, so they can start over. They can move on.
Oh well, I can tell you right now, if someone comes in there, they're giving up Gino. They're not running it back one more year.
They're not running it back.
But in my opinion, I also agree. I'm not gonna say it's because of the landscape of the NFL or anything. I just think Pete Carroll, dude, him and Belichick, low-key just got they're I guess ancient to the game that is now. And I think Pete has understood that, and I just think that Pete is, constantly kept himself in these games with his defense and stuff like that. But I think it was time for Pete to, focus on other things than coaching. He obviously knows the game. That's why he's going to stay as an advisor. This was a parting of ways, and when you talk about it was a mutual parting of ways, I probably believe that Pete Carroll is probably the one that brought it up, and that's why he's now in an advisor role, because they probably didn't want him to go, so they told him, hey, we'll give you some position here at the front office. All you got to do is help us recruit guys in free agency, and you can hang around the program and stuff. You can help draft. I don't know. Regardless, I'm pretty sure he was down for that. He's like 77, 78 years old. He doesn't need the headache of trying to run a program. He just wants to be a side guy. It's at this point he's doing side quests with the Seahawks now. He's not the main character anymore. And at 78 years old, that's probably what he's allowed to do.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. He's just too damn old, man. I mean, he still can coach, but when you're Pete Carroll, you won a national championship, you won a Super Bowl, you've been in 2 Super Bowls, like, bro, you got nothing else to prove. The Seahawks are they're kind of in, not mediocre. They're not mediocre, but they're not good either. They're kind of like just an average team, and I think if you're Pete, you don't want to coach an average team. You either want to coach a good team that has Super Bowl aspirations, or maybe you help rebuild for a year or two and then let someone else take over. When you're stuck in like average, yeah, that's not much fun for a historical coach like that. So I think it was time to move on. And like you said, they want to keep that knowledge, all that wisdom in house. They don't want him, going to San Fran or any other rival teams and helping them out. You want to keep that in the building. So it makes sense to pay him a little bit more. Hey, stick around. We need you a little bit. You don't have to coach, but on draft night, we're going to need you there. And first day of free agency, we're going to need you making some pitches. So I can definitely see that. As far as fill-ins, Dan Quinn's been linked. I think I don't know if they go back to defensive-minded coach. I think they might try to switch things up. They got a bunch of offensive guys. I feel like, DK, Tyler Lockett. They got JSN, Kenneth Walker. I mean, they're loaded with offensive talent. I feel like it's probably best to move to an offensive-minded coach. Probably makes more sense. That's what I believe.
And that's just the way the league is now. It's all about offense. Whose offense can be better? Which defense? I'm not going to say which defense cannot be worse. It's just what defense can hold their own a little bit better. I mean, it's like what some guys comment, like Colin Cowher and stuff like that. It's like, dude, you can't even, like, as a defender, you can't even touch a guy anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
You can barely touch anyone in cornerback. And, Pete Carroll's system of defense, Legion of Boom, can't have a Legion of Boom anymore. You can't do it. And that's just, they'll try to get you for not Bounty Gate. No, it's Bounty Gate. They'll try to get you for Bounty Gate at that point. You have a Legion of Boom like that. That era in which he was, the star of defense coaching, it's just a little, it's gone. That's probably not. It's probably not even the NFL he wants to be coaching anymore either. Because he made some dang good defenses back in the day with Seattle. Can't even do that anymore. You can't even make awesome defenses now. You just kind of have to install a defense that doesn't get blown out over the top, keeps getting close, and win it with your defense. Win it with your offense. Only a few teams, and that's mainly to get like a front seven that really can attack, is really the only way to do it anymore. And at that point, you have to have really smart interior line and D line and outside line, because basically you gotta have guys that aren't gonna make the boneheaded play to touch the quarterback, in the helmet, in the pinky, in the pinky toe. You can't even touch him anywhere almost anymore. So it's not like that national championship play or championship game when Michigan. I mean, he tackled the guy who made the screen pass that they were going to throw the screen pass for before the quarterback had even thrown the screen. I mean, you can't just tackle a guy. I know he technically wasn't, he wasn't past the line of scrimmage, but like, you can't just tackle somebody. They didn't throw a flag on it or anything, and I was just like sitting there like I was just dumbfounded.
Yeah, I remember that play. It was
I didn't understand. I was like, I get it's a screen, but like if that's the way to beat a screen now, and you're telling us that is the way to beat the screen, then everyone's just gonna immediately just push the guy over as he's trying to turn around to see the screen pass coming. Just immediately just hit him. We're not past the line of scrimmage, so apparently illegal contact doesn't come into play, but you're not supposed to tackle a guy for no reason. I mean, linemen can barely pancake anymore.
Yeah.
We're throwing flags on pancakes now, and I forgot what play it was too. I'm pretty sure it was in the same national champion. It was in the national championship when the Washington guy got called for a hold, and was it Kurt Herbstreit literally on the air was like, I don't know about that one. And that was when it was still a 13-20 game, and that nullified the big play. That took all the air out of the offense, and honestly, that offense didn't look good after that drive anyways. So, and I'm pretty sure both of those plays came on back-to-back drives. So, I'm not saying there's tampering or anything. I'm just saying two big calls from refs really, put a dampener in it like that. And that just pretty much goes to show you that the way things are called nowadays is just so much changed in college and football and NFL. I mean, the defenses that we knew back in the day, like, can't even have them anymore. Can't even have them. I mean, Burfict, that man wouldn't even last 1 year nowadays.
Nah,
he wouldn't make it a season
can't
anymore.
He can't even step foot in the NFL now. They wouldn't allow that. Mike Vrabel, Tennessee Titans head coach, he is gone as well. Apparently, it would be too difficult to trade him, so they just went ahead and cut him. He was coach of the year in 6 seasons there, went to the playoffs, twice?
Mm-hmm.
He has some good seasons. I mean, I don't know. He was given a crap roster. It's not really his fault. How do we feel about it, and where is he going? I think you called this last episode.
Nah, dude, the Titans are suckers. Honestly, the Titans, it was all about the fact that that GM that came in there, he wants to make his own team. Vrabel was the guy that was left over from him before he got brought in. Why he didn't want Vrabel, that's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
But you saw as soon as Vrabel got let go, and notice Vrabel made sure he got fired. He didn't want to part ways because he wanted that guaranteed money that was still left. So he got his money. But honestly, you saw the backlash after he got canned. Dude, he's going to get like every single vacancy coaching gig. Like, they're all going to at least interview him at some point. Every single one of them is going to interview him.
Any of them, any of the teams, he can go anywhere. It doesn't matter. He can go anywhere.
It'd be pretty awesome to see him come to Washington. Do I believe he's going to go to Washington? Probably not. He's going to have way better options than Washington. I believe he's going to go to the Patriots. They're either going to try to convince him to go to the Patriots as a GM. They're going to try to convince him to go to the Patriots as head coach, and Bill moves to GM, or they just get rid of Bill altogether. If the Chargers lose out on Bill Belichick, or Bill Belichick never enters, and they lose out on Jim Harbaugh, which I think that's going to be the biggest kicker for Vrabel, is going to be the Harbaugh situation, because I do believe Harbaugh is leaving Michigan. Once he won the national championship, so there's not much left for him to do now in college. The one big thing left for him to do in coaching, which he already tried it and almost did it before, is a Super Bowl. So I believe to see him try to make a run at a Super Bowl. So I feel like that's going to be the only hindrance to Vrabel's possible coaching candidacy, is going to be the Jim Harbaugh situation where he goes. But, certain teams like the Patriots, they would take Vrabel over Harbaugh any day. It's more like a team like the Chargers. Chargers are probably going to make a run at Harbaugh. But honestly,
most definitely.
Honestly, I think a team like the Chargers just needs a little bit more of a, I don't want to say meathead, but they just need a guy to scream at him a little bit. I think maybe, the scenery of LA, and you can't have a offensive whiz like McShay, or just an NFL whiz like McShay. Then you kind of have to go with a hard-nosed guy that's going to keep you in check while you're living in LA with the glitz and the glamour and stuff like that. I honestly think that's why Brian Dable and Saleh at the Jets, I think that's why both of them are both good coaches, because in all the spectacle of New York, both those guys are pretty hard-nosed, and they keep people on a leash, and they keep people, what's the better word, humble. Keep people humble.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good guy to bring into a program like Chargers. And honestly, if someone's going to figure out how to protect, Herbert, it's probably going to be Vrabel. If someone can get Herbert through a whole season without getting murdered, it's probably going to be Vrabel.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a waiting game for sure. I think there's a lot of teams are lined up for For good old Jim Harbaugh, he's gonna definitely come back to NFL. It just depends on what team. I think the Chargers are probably top of that list. Seattle probably is on top of that list as well. They just had a Pete Carroll came from college to NFL, so it makes sense. They might try to explore a similar option there. But yeah, he's gonna be a good coach anywhere he goes. I think any team would want him as their head coach. Titans, we can add them to the list of trash franchises. Last on the list that we're gonna cover for tonight. Bears keep their head coach Matt Eberflus, but they got rid of basically all of the offensive coaches in the room. So this leads me to believe they're gonna try and keep Fields. The GM came out today and said he has a difficult decision. Which, I mean, if you're gonna keep the head coach, you're keeping the quarterback. You wouldn't. I mean, if you're gonna get a new quarterback, you would get a new head coach. I don't think you would keep Eberflus with the new quarterback. So this leads me to believe they're gonna keep Fields for now. What do you think? How do you think about this move?
Oh, I don't think you move off Fields. And I think the biggest reason why I say you don't move off Fields is in one of the last home games they had, you had all those people chanting, "We want Fields, we want Fields, we want Fields." The guy has won over the fan base, at least the guys that are going to the games. He's won them over. So you keep him another year, and if it doesn't work out, the fans have no one to blame but themselves. And I'm not going to say that's a scapegoat, but if you're a GM and you're a head coach like that, you as the fans cheered and chanted, "We want Fields." So what did we do? We kept you Fields. We kept you Fields. Yep. We made sure Fields didn't go through too many changes. His whole offense might be changed, but at least the main guy, his main point of contact, his every guy he's been there since he came in the league, Eberflus is still there. And honestly, if you look back on the season, especially how the team finished off the season, that you could tell the players played hard for Eberflus. That's probably one of the decisions that went into it.
Yeah.
And multiple times in the season, it wasn't the defense that gave up the games; it was the offense that went stale and kept the defense in like constant 3-and-outs towards the end of games. Putting them in bad situations. Now the defense has to like go between playing prevent because we don't want them to score quick, but we also don't want to play man because then we can get beat quick and we give up points quick. Now our game plans are they're up in the air because the offense can't do anything. There's many times in the season where the defense held them under 20 points, held them around 23 points, and the offense could barely score 10. I think that's what led to the ultimate decision of keeping Eberflus because, I mean, honestly, at the end of the season, it didn't look like he was the problem. It just looked like the offense as a whole was the problem.
Yeah.
And honestly, you got DJ Moore, so you got a good wide receiver. Maybe look at going a little bit more fancy in the running back department. Maybe draft one. I don't know what to tell you in that world, but the running backs, never stood out as amazing. But honestly, the biggest thing you should do, get a young, mobile quarterback, because I think the problem is they try to make Fields non-mobile. Now you got to keep Fields as a mobile guy. That's his thing. He's mobile. Keep him mobile. So get a young guy out there who likes mobile quarterbacks. Maybe go down to the college ranks and pick one up, because that's what a lot of college guys do is have mobile quarterbacks. And honestly, just give him a top 10 wide receiver. You got 2 top 10 picks. You got the first pick and you got the 9th pick.
Get 9th pick.
You go O-line and you go wide receiver. Either 9th pick overall, you go O-line, or 9th pick overall, you go wide receiver. In my honest opinion, you got the first overall pick. My opinion, you trade back. And when I say you trade back to like Washington or something. You let Washington pick the guy they want for the future. I'm pretty sure Washington's pick like 3 or 4. You let Washington.
Commanders are 2.
Oh, you let Washington get 2. You make them move up if they wanna, because you're gonna be holding that draft pick over their head because you're gonna possibly give it to some other team, maybe like Seattle. Oh yeah, Washington, we're gonna give up the pick and they're gonna get the quarterback that you want. So you come get the pick. they're going to do that to somebody, and they're going to get, a top 10 pick out of it. So they're going to have 2 top 10 picks. And honestly, there's so many wide receivers in this draft. You can get one within the first 10 picks. Because the last number one wide receiver that was ever drafted was Keyshawn Johnson. And if we look back at his career, was Keyshawn Johnson, a worthy first overall pick? Probably for about maybe 5 years of it.
A couple of those years, yeah.
For about 5 years of his whole year, of all his years. So, that's a big, pressure to put on a wide receiver's back at being number one pick. So honestly, I think the best thing to do is, find a trade partner who wants a quarterback, dangle it in front of the Commanders' faces, make them give you like a second or a third pick for that first pick, because otherwise I'm giving this up and you're not going to get Caleb Williams or you're not going to get Drake May. You ain't getting one of them that you like more, because you're not going to know what's going to happen. And, the second overall pick has a lot less clouds above their head than the first overall pick. So,
yeah.
if you get Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 2, he doesn't have to live with that stigma of being the number 1 pick and having to be awesome straight out the gate and be awesome his whole career. Because everyone was just going to forget about it. He was the number 2. No one remembers the number 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they really think about keeping Fields, they got to trade that pick, maybe down to 3 or 4. I think New England's 3. I think Arizona's 4. So I don't think Arizona, they've already committed to Kyler, so they're probably going to draft a wideout or another offensive lineman. So we'll see what they do there, but I think it was the right move to keep Eberflus, just keep this thing going. And I think it was Jeff Saturday again today said, at the very least, keep Fields another year, pick up his 5th-year option. Maybe do what they did with Jordan Love, kind of like restructure the 5th-year option. So maybe you don't guarantee all of it. Maybe you make partial, and then give him some incentives that are, I guess, somewhat obtainable. And then franchise tag him. Hey, so you got a lot to play with. You don't exactly have to pay him like a lot of people say. Like, you don't have to just throw him a bag. Don't throw this kid $200 million yet. I think you got to give him a little bit more leeway, a little bit more talent to, I guess, evaluate him to the fullest. Because he's a good quarterback. Now, well, will he be a great quarterback? We gotta keep on pushing to see if that's going to happen. But yeah, that's the end of rapid fire for tonight's episode. A lot that we went over, a lot of news that's happened in the past 48 hours. Any final thoughts before we head on out?
I got a really angry puppy that wants to get played with. So, final thoughts. Ozzy's a little bit crazy. That's all I got over here on this side. I'm looking for Packers to cover that spread, and I'm looking for that over. Those are the 2 big ones for the weekend. I think that's going to be the sleeper game. I think there'll be other good games, obviously, but I think the Packers-Cowboys is low-key a sleeper game.
All right. You heard it from him. Nothing else from me. Just going to be watching some good NBA for the rest of the week. Hopefully win some good money. Thank you, FanDuel, for the $300 from this previous weekend. Really helped me out in my gambling addiction. I mean, no, not addiction. My gambling funds. But anyway, we're going to head on out, guys. This is episode 65, MTL Sports Podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening on Spotify, all that good stuff. And we're out. Peace.
Giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of bird.